Hello everyone, this is Carla and welcome back to the studio and thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So for this Thursday, I will be featuring a recently retired bundle from our last annual catalog. That is the Dainty Delight bundle. So this is a cling stamp set, so it's a red rubber cling stamp set. And then the coordinating dies have dies to cut out these stamped images, but then there are also a few that are standalone, so you can build some flower blooms and things like that. So for my first project, I have a piece of crumb cake. This measures 8.5 by 5.5, and I've scored it at 4.25. And then I have a piece of basic beige. This measures 5 by 3.75. So I'm going to start off by folding and burnishing my card base. And I will take this and set that aside. And then what I want to do to kind of spare this grid paper that I'm using, I'm going to place a piece of scrap paper down. And I'm going to bring in the larger spray of flowers and along with the smaller one. Now for the ink that I'm going to use to stamp, I'm going to bring in my basic gray ink, and I'm going to take this larger flower image. I'm going to ink this up. Actually, I'll do it from the top since it's a bigger image. Now, not all of this image is going to be on my cardstock. I'm going to take this and I'm going to stamp this kind of off a little bit right over here. And then I'm going to bring in this smaller one, ink this one up, and try not putting my finger in the ink. And then I'm going to stamp, kind of fill, by looking at the way that this stamp is cut, I'm going to kind of look at where that other stamped image is, and I'm going to kind of come up against it where it's almost joining to it, but not quite. So there's not a huge amount of a gap in between. And then I'm going to bring in the big one again. And then I'm going to stamp this. Let's see, like about, let's say about there. Okay, and then I'll bring in the smaller one again. And then I'm just going to come in a little bit up from the side here, like so. Okay, so I kind of filled in the bottom with all of these flowers. And then I'm going to bring in the greeting that says, "Thank you for your kindness." And I want to try and make sure that I got this as straight as I can on this block. I'm looking at the bottom of this greeting here and having it straight along the bottom edge of this block. So I'm just going to try and get that straight as I can get it. I will ink this up, and then I will stamp this right up in here. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so let me close up my ink. We're done with the stamping part. Now for this part, I'm going to speed this up, but let me explain what it is that I will be doing. Let me kind of bring in the pieces that I need here. So for these flower images, I'm going to color them in using my Stampin' Blends. These are Stampin' Up's alcohol markers. So I have both the light and the dark soft succulent colors. I have the dark and the light pretty in pink. the light and dark lemon lolly. And I have the light, this is Highland Heather. So I will color all of these little images in, and I will be right back. Okay, so let me move this piece out of the way. Now I'm going to bring in a bigger piece because for my next part, it could be a little bit messy. So I'm going to bring in a bigger piece of paper, so another old piece of the grid paper. And for this part, I'm going to do some spritzing on my card. So let me get the marker that I want. Now there is more than one way you can do this. So this is our Stampin' Right marker. One way you can do this is with the brush tip of your marker, and inside the lid you can take this and flick it onto your cardstock. But I will tell you that if you do that enough times, you will start to damage the tip of your marker. So I'm bringing in something that Stampin' Up! Had carried a very long time ago. This was back at the time when I first joined back around 2013. And what this is a spritzing tool. So you would put your marker in like so, and then you would have, excuse me, the part where the air would come out. You would want to kind of line it up to where it's at the tip, but not rubbing right up against the tip. And then you would just tighten this up like so. And then you would then squeeze this, and what it'll do is it'll add some spritzing to your card, like so. Now, a few years ago, I remember when I had gone into a store like Hobby Lobby, that I had seen that they did carry that. It was, I believe, either through Tim Holtz or it was, I think, Ranger or whatever. They had something similar to that, but it seems like they don't carry it anymore. So I tried to find it on Amazon and I had a hard time. So, I mean, you can do a search and maybe you'll be able to find it, but that's what I used and I tried to find. Now, what I'm doing is I'm bringing in my trash bin here, and I'm going to distress the edges of this piece of cardstock. So I'm going to do this over this, and I'm just going to take the blade of my scissors and I'm going to carefully just rough up the edges, and especially when I get towards the end pieces, I don't want to get my finger caught in there because that, yeah, it will do some damage to you. These scissors are very sharp, and I'm going to do this along all four edges. So just kind of distress this a little bit, give it a little bit of, do a little bit of distressing and just kind of give it a really different look. this edge. I want to wipe off some of this excess fuzz here from the paper. And it is messy. And come over on this edge. Do that. Okay. So that's what it looks like. A little bit close here. Alright, and I'll put that aside. And I still got fuzz. So let me bring in, this is something that I found on Amazon. I needed more refills for my lint roller, and I came across this. And what's nice about this, it's a lint roller, but what's nice about it is that you don't need to go and buy extra refills for it. All you have to do is take this off, and then you can rinse this off, let it dry, and you can reuse it again. I thought that was really, really cool. And I got that off of Amazon. Okay, so let me move this out of the way now. And I'm going to bring in my linen thread. And I'm also going to bring in some Scotch tape for this. I'm going to take and wrap this around a couple of times. So I'm going to place this like back here. And I'm going to grab a piece of tape just to hold this down, like so. And then I'm going to wrap this around a couple of times here. I'm going to kind of crisscross it a little bit. Like so. And then, actually I'm going to kind of crisscross this a little bit closer here. Let me move this down just a little bit. Like so. I'm going to kind of hold that taut. And I'm going to grab another piece of tape. And I'm going to go across all these pieces to hold this all down. Okay, let me trim that. Like so. And then on the back of this, I'm going to add some dimensionals. And so I don't want this to sag, so I'm going to add a few extra ones here. Okay. And then I'm going to remove these paper backings. Okay, and then I'm going to add it to my card base. Like so. And then with my linen thread, I'm going to double it up, like so. And then I'm going to tie around this. I'm going to create a bow. About here. You can grab it. I struggled a little bit with this when I created the sample card. Okay, there we go. Okay, and so let me kind of turn this a little bit. Looks like it's all wonky here, so I'll hold that down. See which End is where. Goes a little bit wonky here, but that'll be okay. Alright, and now I'm going to do 2 more bits of embellishing on this. So I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella and I'm going to add a little bit just on these flowers. I'm not going to worry about the leaves at all. What this will do, and it won't only just give the flowers some sparkle to them, but what it also does, it makes the coloring a little bit more vibrant. I'm just going to add a little bit onto all these flowers. Okay, these little buds. I'm just going to move the linen thread out of the way as I get these other ones that are underneath it. All these little yellow ones. Okay, and then one more thing left to do. I'm going to bring in my embellishments, and that is my brushed brass butterflies. Now these had carried over into our new annual catalog, so you can still get these. Let me bring in my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to add a larger one right down here, and then 2 smaller ones, like one up here and one here. What's nice about these, they are very thin, so when it comes to nailing, they're not very bulky, so they're a great embellishment to use. So there we go. There is our first card. On to our second. Okay, so for my second card, we're going to utilize the dies on this rather than doing some stamping and coloring. So I'm going to start off with my card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. This is Misty Moonlight. I have a piece of Boho Blue. This is a current in color. This measures 5 by 3.75. Now for this piece here, I will be embossing it with the Countryside Blossoms embossing folder. This was an embossing folder that just recently retired with our last annual catalog. So I'm going to set this aside because all die cutting and embossing I'll do at the same time. So I'll set that aside. And then I have some scraps here. I have, let's see, I have some basic white here. And this is going to be used for doing some die cutting. And then I have another piece here that I'll stamp my greeting, and I'll be punching out using the double oval punch. Now this also just recently retired, so I will stamp this and then I will do all the punching when I go to do all the die cutting and embossing. And then I have 2 little pieces here of scrap of Daffodil Delight. And then I also have another scrap. This is another piece of Misty Moonlight. This will be punched out with that double oval punch. And then I have a scrap piece of Lemon Lime Twist. So let me take all of these pieces. Now what I'm going to do is die cutting. So on these 3 little pieces of the basic white, I'm going to die cut this daisy. And then for these 2 pieces of the Daffodil Delight, I'm going to die cut this twice. This is the center to those not daffodils, those are daisies. And then, let's see, then there's another die. Where's that other die? So this is just a half of a daisy. I'm going to cut out 2 of those on this piece of basic white. And then for my lemon lime twist, this bigger vine leafy piece, I will die cut out of this. So I'm going to set that all aside. I'm going to fold and burnish my card base. And I will set that aside. And then on here, I'm going to bring in the stamp that says Celebrate You. And I'm going to stamp that in Boho Blue. And I'm just going to I'm going to stamp this kind of like in the center of my scrap piece here. I'm not worried about if it's straight or not. So I'm going to set that aside because that's going to be punched out as well. Okay, so I am at that part now to do the embossing, punching in, and die cutting. So I will be right back. Okay, so now let's come and get come and get our stuff, really. I tell you, it's so true that when you go and record a video, your brain and your mouth don't work together and things don't come out the way they're supposed to. Just saying. Okay, so now on my card base here, I'm going to take the piece that I had embossed and I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this. Let me bring in my silicone craft sheet here. Add some to the back of this. And then I'm going to center this onto my card base. Like so. And then I'm going to take this vine here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. And I'm just going to add a little bit in some spots. I'm not going to do the whole entire thing. Now the other thing you could do with this, you could use the adhesive sheets and put that on the back of your cardstock before you die cut. That would make it a lot easier and a little bit less messier as far as doing this part. I'm just adding a tiny bit. I want to make sure that this stays down and it doesn't come off. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my card base and I'm going to add this right over here on this half of the card. Just press that down. Okay, now I'm going to take my punch piece here. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this basic white piece that I had stamped. And I'm going to center that on my Misty Moonlight scalloped oval. I'm just going to center that down just a little bit. Okay. And then let me do this. I'm going to add some dimensionals onto the back of this. And I will set this aside because we'll put this on after the fact. Now what I want to do is I want to come in and I want to assemble the centers to my daisies here. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue into the middle. And then I'm going to bring in, we take your pick tool, and I'm going to grab some of these little pieces. Now, one side you can see the dots a little bit better than on the other side. I want to make sure that that's the part I have facing up. And then we got one more. Place this one down right here. Okay. Set those aside. And then for the smaller ones, or the half daisies, I'm going to add a little bit of glue right there. And then on these, I'm going to add these right there to the center part of those daisies. My finger. Okay. Put that aside. Now these other little bits, I don't need these. These were extra ones. Okay, let me close up my glue. And let me flip these over. And I'm going to bring in my mini dimensionals. And I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool to pick these up since it's a little bit easier. I'm just going to add them to the center of each of these daisies. There's one there. And we need one more. Okay, so we don't need those anymore. Let me remove the paper backings off of these and get more into the camera instead of being all the way over the side there. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in my card. I'm going to add one of my larger daisies up here. And I'll add another large one down here. And then I'll take this one and I'll add this kind of like into the middle there. And then I'm going to fill in with these two half daisies. This one this way. Okay, and then I'm going to take my greeting and I'll remove the paper backings off of that. And I will place this one right over here. And then I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella and I'm going to just brush some on my daisies. Got that one? Yeah, I got that one. And then we got one more. Okay, and then just like I did with the other one, I'm going to bring in my brushed brass butterflies, and I'm going to add a few of those to my card like so. And then I'll get a little one, and I'll place this one right here on the tag, and that's it. So let me kind of move this stuff out of the way. So here is our second card. This one we utilize the dies to do some of the paper piecing to create this fun card. And then here is our first one that I kind of did almost like a watercolor type look by using the Stampin' Blends. Now this, you could easily do this, you know, in watercolored. I have seen some of the projects done where these flowers and the leaves and everything were watercolored, and it came out really, really pretty. So there is our second card, actually this was our first card. So if you like the projects that I made today, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. It does help me in not only building my channel, but it also helps me in building and growing my Stampin' Up! Business. So this particular video is video number 99 since I've been doing these videos, pre-records and lives since near the end of September of last year. This video is now number 99. And my Friday night live, which will happen tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, will be video number 100. So I plan on, well, I know what I'm going to use for, and I'm going to be using the Grassy Grove bundle. This is a bundle that came out in our catalog a while back, and it's now carried over, so it's still available. But I'm thinking of something special to do with tomorrow night's live, since it is live, it's video number 100. So I hope that you can join me again. It's right here on the Blue City Stampin' Studio YouTube channel, and I will be going live at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope you'll be able to join me. And if you can and you watch the replay, thank you for watching and joining us. So until then, everyone have a blessed one. Bye-bye.